Hey everyone, welcome back to another video here. And in this video, we're going to be giving all of the green tree pythons enclosures a bit of love and just doing a general check over. So coming into winter, I get a little bit nervous with my green tree pythons, in particular my adult male. I'm not so worried about the female or the hatchies and stuff like that, but the adult male seems to always just have crappy sheds. It's just, doesn't matter what I do. I know he's well hydrated, I inject mice with water and all sorts, but he just has bad sheds. It only happens this time of year, and he usually only has like one or two, but that being said, I'm just going to give him a bit of a check over and see how he's doing. But what I wanted to do is kind of just bring you along for tiny little bit of maintenance. I know if you watched my last patron only video, I was kind of saying to the patrons that I don't like tinkering around with my animals too much in winter. This enclosure is a little bit gross at the moment, so I just want to hook in, actually clean it up, because she's potentially going to be sitting on a clutch of eggs soon in here, hopefully, all going to plan, hopefully. So I just want to make sure that there's not like crazy amounts of bacteria or anything like that kind of kicking around. So to start off with, I'm going to get all of this substrate out of here, and I'm just going to put some new Yuki mulch in there, fix up a couple of the branches. Like there's a couple of the branches that just need to be pinned back up just to get her a bit closer to the heat up here. There's a few things like that just amongst all the green tree python enclosures that just need a little bit of a tidy up and a little bit of a spruce up. We'll check out the hatchies too. Well, I say hatchies, they're now probably about 2 years old, and we'll give their enclosure a little bit of love as well. But first off, I'm going to cut to a time lapse. I'm just going to quickly do over this enclosure, and then we'll put the female back into here. Well, if you were wondering what I was just popping in there, it's just a bit of the good old Yuki mulch. This stuff is pretty renowned here in Australia as being just like a nice cheap substrate that we can chuck into our enclosures. And yeah, it seems to do the job. The one thing that I will say is it always comes pretty damp. So for this circumstance, I try to just do like a bit of a thin layer. I don't go too heavy on it just so it doesn't retain too much moisture. Now, that being said, I will add a little bit more to it in the future. I'll probably add like a bit of a mound over here, because that's where she nested last time, where she actually successfully maternally incubated her eggs. And the reason that she did that is because essentially the heat panel to the other enclosure down here is just under there. So essentially this little part of the enclosure floor down here gets quite nice and warm. So what I will do temporarily, once I kind of pop things in, is I will kind of mound up a whole heap of leaf litter in that corner, as I have done in the past, just for her to kind of feel secure if she wants to go and wrap around some eggs. So I've managed to just kind of firmly wedge these branches in position again. I'm pretty sure they're going to hold where they are, to be honest. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother putting another screw through there. Just for now, I might, but to be honest, they're pretty firm. I think they just needed to be like kind of wedged in position. Nah, screw it. I'm gonna put a screw in just to be sure. But I will just make sure that these things hold up a bit higher. The reason for that in particular is the heat panel that I've got in here, it's only a little 40 watt heat panel, and it's done fine in the past. But if they drop down like that, the snakes can get a little bit cool. And I just noticed the other day, a couple of days back, that it dropped down. So yeah, they must have just been able to, I don't know, maybe a screw had kind of rusted out and snapped or something like that. And yeah, it's just dropped down. So anyway, I just wanted to repair that, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video today. But anyway, we're going to chuck some leaf litter in here. Now, I've got a pretty lucky circumstance where I'm able to collect leaf litter quite a few times a year from a eucalypt. I'm pretty sure it's a eucalypt, in my father-in-law's place. So I know the leaves are clean. He doesn't use pesticides or anything like that. I always end up holding on to them for a few months, regardless, just for whatever I need to do it in. So I'm going to put a whole stack of leaf litter in here just to make her feel a little bit more comfortable. So yeah, in particular, I will put more in here, but I'm going to put more up that back end in particular, just to try to kind of, man, there's always rogue woodies everywhere. What are you doing in here? Be right back, I'm just going to go chuck them to the boys. Oh, she loved that. Little extra feed for the day. So yeah, I'm going to chuck more leaf litter in here. And I also actually ended up grabbing like a golden pothos as well. I have had plants in here in the past, and I've just let them go for way too long. But I wanted to just chuck this one in just to hopefully get a plant growing in here, just so she feels a little bit more at home. Plus, plants just look good with green tree pythons, and I hate how bare this tank looks. So I kind of just want to get this up and running, and looking at Schmickest again. The male's enclosure looks awesome, and I hate that she's just kind of sitting up here in this box. Okay, I'm literally going to leave it in the pot. I don't see any need to take it out of the pot. I might just chuck some leaf litter around it and such. Not the prettiest, I know, but I'm toying with the idea of redoing both these tanks in my head. Not now, it's definitely not financially available, but in the future, I'm thinking we're going to redo these tanks. While I'm here though, where'd it go? I do have some of Fish Organics fertilizer. So this is a plant fertilizer that's safe for terrariums and vivariums and such. So while I'm here, she's not in here and such, I am just going to give this a quick little spritz of juice to hopefully boost it up a little bit, and hopefully we can grow this pothos through here in no time and she can feel nice and happy. I've got heaps of leaves in this back corner, that's perfect. I am just gonna, a couple of these have kind of moved around while I was tinkering. Whoops. Whoops, got vines going everywhere. All right, that looks a little bit better. What else do I need to do? I need to add the water bowl. I'm gonna put that screw in. So I'll be back in a tick. I'm just gonna scrub that water bowl and screw this enclosure. Screw that stick in this enclosure, I should say. Okay, that's all fixed off now. That branch is nice and secure. I've got the water in there, of course. And yeah, everything's looking pretty hunky-dory. So we'll go and get this snake out, Midori, my female green tree python, and we'll pop her back into here. Now, if anybody's wondering, this enclosure is a 120 by 60 by 60 centimeter vivarium that I built. That being said, I do tend to want to keep my greens and things that are bigger. The only reason that Midori is in this smaller viv up the top here is I am just trying to be able to reproduce my luck a couple of years ago when I did breed these snakes. So I'd really like to try to hit those odds on the head again this season. Last season she did drop a clutch for me. However, they weren't fertile. It was a real weird season, and both of my snakes that were breeding, a children's python that I past had and the green tree python, they laid clutches in like January. So they were like well out of season. So with that being said, I'm just trying to mimic everything again, and hopefully the weather and stuff kind of allows it to happen this year, and we can have a bit more luck. But in the future, whether it's this viv or not, I am planning to keep them in bigger vivariums. As you can see, this is a little bit more what I'd like to be doing for them. This is 120 by 60 by 60, 120 by 120 by 60 centimeter viv. And as you can see, there's way more climbing opportunities, height-wise in particular, and yeah, just a bit more for them essentially. So this is where the male usually resides, down in here. So yeah, a few little tweaks and stuff still need to be made just to kind of like nut some things out. But that being said, we'll get this snake out and we'll pop her back in here and have a little bit of a look at her. Okay, so we'll get Midori out here, providing that she wants to come out. I just had her in this little container here. I don't handle this snake a lot, so we'll see how she goes. But as you can see, she's a beautiful python. I absolutely love this snake. She's so beautiful. Yeah, I've been really trying to put some food onto her this year just to try to get her a little bit bigger, to make sure that she's okay to, you know, hopefully reproduce again for me. Obviously those eggs last year that weren't fertile, I discarded them pretty quick and kind of gave her the opportunity to go back on food. So yeah, she's put on a lot more condition. But that being said, the male and her have been together and have been copulating, not, you know, in the too distant future or in too distant past. That being said though, man, look how long she is. She's like 1.2 long. Maybe even a smidge bigger. So this is the reason I want a bigger Viv for her. She's a big snake, like she's a decent snake. She doesn't look like much when she's all curled up, but that's a decent sized python, you know, a green python. I'm not trying to get her huge or anything. I just wanted her to have good body condition, which she does. All in all, she's looking really good. I just want to kind of get a little bit more condition on her. So while I'm kind of doing this maintenance, I'm going to feed them at the end of this video. Just give them a chance to kind of have that, you know, separation for a few days, bit of a feed. Because the males are like a little bit, you know, not having the greatest shed and stuff like that. I want to give him a bit of TLC and see if I can help him out with that shed. But yeah, I'm happy with how she's looking in particular. We just need to get this male in order, and then hopefully he'll do his job this year and hopefully shoot some fertile sperm again for me. So looking at the male's enclosure here, there's honestly not much that I've got to do. There's a couple of tiny bits of urate there, which honestly, yeah, I can pick a couple of them out, but there's not a lot going on. The only thing I probably would do, just add in a little bit more leaf litter, just to kind of help with that microfauna, and it kind of helps fuel the plants and stuff too, you know, as it kind of breaks down. The only other thing I'd do is give it a water, which I've already done. And probably just couple of little directed hits of fertiliser to a few of these plants here. That's pretty happy days. What I will do now is we'll go and check on the male. I've been letting him kind of have a bit of a soak just to try to clean him up a little bit, because I think he's actually crawled around in a couple of poos or through a couple of poos. And he's got a lot of this loose shed on him at the moment, so I'm hoping that that's kind of just giving him a bit of an opportunity to get that off. I have just popped him in a container very similar to this, and I've kept him inside of the snake rack with the little hatchy children's pythons and stuff, just so the water doesn't go cool, and then that way it's kind of like a nice warm bath for him. So yeah, we'll go and check him out now, and yeah, hopefully he's all good. So we're just having a little look at Wasabi here. You can see that he is in shed, obviously with these. You're going up on top, bud. Yeah, he's got a couple of little marks on him from where it looks like he's just kind of run through some poop or something like that. I would like to try to help him get this shed off. Getting straight on the camera there, aren't you, bud? But that being said, it's still mainly in one piece. That's the thing that, you know, kind of gives me a little bit of hope that he'll be able to get this off himself. Woo! And he's kind of already started getting it off at his head, but it's just been like that for about a week now. So I would have expected that he would have been able to get this off prior to that. Maybe what I'll do is I might just let him soak for the rest of the day while I kind of clean up everybody else. And then from there, what we can do is we can, you know, go and pop him into his enclosure for a feed and stuff. And I might just monitor him. And then hopefully once he's kind of like, you know, softened up the shed and stuff a little bit in this enclosure, in this tub, hopefully from there, he'll just be able to just peel it off himself and it won't be an issue. Because it doesn't look like it's all like flaking off in pieces or anything like that. Like it's all still intact. So I think before I jump the gun and I try to do something to intervene, I might let him do his job. How cool are they though? Green pythons are just the best. I love these snakes. There's a reason that these guys are the ones that are kind of like left to me, like as far as all my snakes go. These were the ones that were never going to go anywhere, and you know, it's not because of monetary value or anything like that. It's just they're a bright green snake. How can you get any better than that? Like I don't mind the designer types and stuff, the heaps of the ones in the US and stuff like that, but give me a bright green snake any day. I love this, especially when you got it in like a planted Viv or something like that. Like it just looks unreal. Right, we'll leave him soak and we'll be back. Okay, so we're out with the, I keep wanting to say hatchies. They're not hatchies anymore. I've got to just break that cycle. And as you can see, their terrarium here is absolutely lush. This parlor palm's really just made it its own home, hey? Like it's, yeah, it's pretty incredible to see how far this has come in the case of me just not touching it. Like I really haven't done much to it. I did originally plant like a little Ficus pumila down here in this corner here. Didn't really take off, which is you know, plants go, plants come. It's all good. The parlor palm seems to really love it. Like, there's not a lot of light in this tank. I've taken the UV off a little while ago. I can't remember the reason for it. I don't think it was anything to do with like actually doing any detriment to the snakes. I think I just needed it somewhere else for another animal, and I just haven't replaced it since. It is something that I will put back on them at some point, even if it's just like a couple of those little shade dweller ones, like the little get your pet right, you know, 30 centimeter ones, the 7%ers. That being said though, this tank does need a little bit of love. There's a few little things that I could trim up, kind of like Midori's tank. I just need to kind of like prop up a few of these little vines and stuff, and I'm not sure if you can actually kind of tell, but since originally setting this up, I have added a few extra vines that I've kind of just come across along the way, and I've actually got no snakes in this particular tank that sit on the water dripper loop anymore. So one of them used to love doing that. The water dripper I've actually taken off temporarily as well, because I had it kind of like running a split line, so it was kind of going to both the tanks. It always only dripped in this tank. So just the pressure through the hose and stuff like that. So what I've learned is if I'm going to be using an aquarium doser as a rainwater system, it's one head per tank. Just have to run one pump per tank. This is the way it's going to have to go. But yeah, I'll give you a little closer look at these little snakes in here just before I go and wake them up and pull them out. And yeah, give you a little bit more of a front-on look of this enclosure. So yeah, you can kind of see that one just creeping through the back there. There he is. I say he, I don't actually know the sexes of these snakes. You can't tell me that's not cool. In your living room, a bit of jungle and a couple of green tree pythons just hanging out. Here's the other one. I'll give him a little goochie goochie goo. Morning. Just want to give you guys a little bit of a once over, a little bit of a health check. Like, what? What? You can't tell me that's not cool to look at. But yeah, anyway, we do want to kind of trim up a bit of this parlor palm, I think, or at least kind of like push it back so it kind of starts growing a bit more over that side. Maybe I'll redirect the light a little bit on top here, just kind of get that back over the middle of the tank a little bit better. I'm only using little downlights, hey? They're little like 9-watt downlights by Arlec. Really nothing crazy. And you can choose the spectrum on them. I'm pretty sure I'm just running them at about 5,000 Kelvin, thereabouts. Because you can do a little flick. That's 4,000, 5,000, 6,500. So yeah, I'm just kind of running them a little bit warm. But yeah, looks so cool. Look at that. Alright, let's see if we can wake these little dudes up and give them a bit of a health check. There's one little green python. Such good snakes. Such good snakes. Now, how are you going to be? We got these two out. So these two have been living together for the last couple of years pretty much. These guys are, yeah, coming up to at least 2 years old, I think, maybe even 3 to be honest. So they're definitely growing in pretty well. Just having a quick look at them, look at their body condition and such. They're strong little snakes, I tell you what. They got some gripping power to them, but they're beautiful little pythons. I love these snakes. I absolutely love these snakes. And I think these guys are definitely due a feed as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just quickly pop these guys into a tub, maintain their tank, and then we'll pop them back in the tub and we'll feed them later. So here's a quick look at the other box too. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to get these couple of snakes out, put them in a tub, maintain both the tanks at the one time, and then we're going to put them all back in together. Well, not together, but at the same time. You can see this little green python here. This one's always pretty switched on, to be honest. This is its favourite spot. It always loves this spot. So we'll have to see if we can encourage him to come off of here. Come on, bud. I know you don't want to leave your home. He's got a beautiful little black tail, this one. Again, I say he. I haven't sexed these snakes. I've just kept 4 of them for the sake of, you know, ensuring a little bit of my own population, my own stock, so to speak. But look at that little tail. Whoop. Let me get him under control here a little bit. Look at that little beautiful black tail. That's so cool. And this one loves caudal luring. Absolutely loves it. See, another beautiful little snake. They're strong pythons. I just love these green pythons, man. There's just nothing beats them. The roughies come pretty close, don't get me wrong. And they're one that I was like struggling to get rid of for a long time mentally myself. But luckily they've gone to a friend who I know will take good care of them, and I know where they are. So if they happen to ever come home, then they come home. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful little pythons. Put him in a tub, grab his little mate, and we'll go from there. The other one will be right over that back corner, pretty much where you can't see it. I'll give you a quick peek and then I'll grab him out. So yeah, this is how dense this jungle is. He's got his little posse right around the back here, where he's nice and secure. Most of the time when I want to view this snake, I actually come in from this other enclosure so I can see him. I think it's probably the bigger of the little babies that I've got at the moment. We'll have to have a bit of a gander. Yeah, he's probably one of the larger of the four that I've got out of here. Does have a little bit of dry shed just on the front area of him here. I hate winter for these guys, and I don't like spraying them down too much in winter, although I know the humidity will help them. I also don't want to cause like potentially respiratory infections when that water goes cold. So yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 at times. But yeah, you can see he's just a little bit dry up that front, kind of like maybe 20% of him. So I'll stick him in a bath as well and give him some shed aid from Reptile One, and give him a little bit of love. And I might actually see if I can just help remove the shed off this little fella in particular. So what I'd actually noticed on that last python is that he was a little bit dehydrated. So I just decided, like, you know what, I'm just going to pop him in a container by himself and pop a little bit of water in there and see if I can get him drinking. Because obviously dehydration is one of those things you do have to worry about with green pythons. And I can be a little bit laxed on actually dropping water on them. So what I might actually end up doing is reinstalling that dripper system, but using two heads above the enclosures, above the, like as far as pumps go, using two pumps rather than just the one. So then both tanks are equally getting watered. So yeah, I think I'm going to put this all back into place just to kind of have that little bit of peace of mind that at least there's some rain dripping down. Because if these guys aren't drinking from the water bowl, or if I'm not misting enough, then potentially, dehydration is an actual thing. So, that concerns me. And, obviously that can concern anybody that's got a python or an animal in general. So for me, that's a lesson. So I'm more than happy to admit my faults where I've screwed up things, and I've screwed up. I got a little bit lax with the misting. I got a little bit lax with the, taking the watering system off. I thought they were doing okay, but when I did the old pinch, skin test and stuff, and it didn't fold back too quick, I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not good, Luke. You've stuffed up royally here. And that's probably why it's having a really cruddy shed too. It's because it just doesn't have the moisture in its body to be able to do that. So, lesson learnt. I'm going to be getting all these dripping systems working again today ASAP, and I'm going to just make sure that all of these pythons are essentially popped into some water. Midori's good. I know Midori's good because I've seen her actually drinking out of a bowl quite a few times now. But yeah, these little pythons in particular, if they haven't had enough water, then this is a way to just try to make sure that they're at least having a bit of a drink. And yeah, I'm going to get better at my misting. I don't have to be on top of that. I'm just going to leave a misting bottle on top of the tanks. And I'm going to set up these watering systems just in case that I, forget here or there, which it happens. I've got a busy life, so it does happen. But I'm not going to lose one of these snakes. I've got to get onto it. Okay, so I've got the dripper replaced. That's now running on 2 pumps. So I'm just using Kamoa X1s. These are aquarium dosing pumps. You can find all sorts online, but I use these in conjunction with this little kind of irrigation hose that I've created to create a bit of a drip loop where at least there's some water that comes into these enclosures. I've just turned it on for about 50 mil a day. This is actually just running for a couple 100 mil now, just to, you know, A, show it for the video, and B, it'll also just water the plants quite well while it's in here. I don't know why it's not kind of running the whole way down along here. It must just be easier for it to drop out through these little loops here at the moment. That being said, all these drops will eventually drop, and it just kind of creates a little bit more humidity even on a daily basis to hopefully just help with these sheds. I'm not so worried about the other tank because those snakes look pretty good, but the one that was in here, at least this one's got a lot more rain kind of happening. So this is just going to go off once a day, 50 mil each tank at 8 p.m. Give them a little bit of hydration and give them a bit of a chance to kind of have a bit of a drink while they're getting active. That being said too, I have also added in a second little light into this tank just to try to encourage that growth to kind of go the whole way over the tank. But I think all in all, these 2 tanks are looking pretty good. And yeah, stoked to get that dripper back online. I've just got to pop the water bowls back in now. I've added a whole bunch of leaf litter in there to just kind of help feeding the plants and the soil and the microfauna and stuff that's in here. And then yeah, I'll let the snakes soak for a little bit longer and get some food organised for them. Okay, so it's been a fair few hours now. I've really let these snakes just kind of soak it out in the snake rack, in these little tubs, so at least the water's nice and warm for them. Hopefully they've had a good long drink. Wasabi here, he's, I'm just a bit disappointed in myself, I'm not gonna lie. It's one of those things that I thought they were doing okay, and yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself to think that, you know, I've probably dehydrated these snakes a little bit just through my negligence and what I'm not doing for as far as care is concerned. So yeah, a little bit disappointed in myself, but I'm gonna get it back on top of it now. Wasabi here's had a good long soak. You can see that he's dripping wet. So at least hopefully he's had a good drink while he was in there. And if not, I'm gonna make sure that I'm giving him a little soak down daily. Just a little spray, just to see if he can just take a few, whoop, where'd he go? A few drops a day, just to kind of rehydrate himself. But yeah, hopefully that's been enough just to kind of, you know, even just loosen that shed for him. His shed's not too bad, so I'm not too concerned about him shedding at the moment. More so that little other one there. But either way, I'm gonna get him back on track. I'll pop him back in here for a little bit, let him explore around, get comfortable, and then we'll give them a feed. But we'll go and get those hatchies out now and put them back into their tank. The yearlings, 2 yearlings, the juvenile green tree pythons, we'll go and put them back into their tanks as well now that they're all freshened up. Before I do that, I will add that I did actually add some of this skin shed into the water. It's got like lanolin and things like that in there, and just to try to make it a little bit easier on him, I'm just going to give his skin a little bit of a spritz down with this to hopefully just let that kind of ease off him a little bit. You just got to make sure you don't put it in their face. So I'm not spraying around his face, he's going to have to get that part off himself. Alright, so we're back with the juvie greens. These are the 2 from this tank here, and as you can see, it's looking a little bit brighter in there. It's also been just kind of freshened up. I've added in another couple of cuttings of like dragon tail and stuff like that. And yeah, water bowls down the front here. Dripper's all set. You guys going to be okay for coming out? So hopefully these guys have had a little drink while they've been in there as well. They're nice and toasty, so they'll be comfortable to kind of go about their day, settle themselves in, and yeah, we'll organise them some food. And then yeah, in a couple of hours time when they're all settled, I'll offer them a feed. Okay, so same scenario for these 2. Whoop. This one wants to go on top. You have to go back in the box, bud. There we go. I have actually given that one that's having a little bit of a struggle with that shed. I've also given him a little bit of a spray down with some of that skin shed or skin shed aid, whatever you want to call it. So hopefully that gives him a little bit of relief sooner rather than later. Just got to convince him to go, whoops, in your box, not on top. Not on top. These guys are going to be due an upgrade soon. And I'm already kind of trying to picture what that looks like in my head. We'll let them settle too. Okay, so it's been several hours now and we're back at Midori's cage. We're going to see if she wants a bit of a feed. I don't doubt that she will. Well, what are we in now? We're in June. But in saying that, this girl's usually pretty good on the feed unless she's holding eggs. So we'll see if she wants to have a little mouse here. Oh, yep. No doubt about it. She's going to wrap that up and consume that right down now. Yeah, so she's going to spend a little bit of time knocking that back. And that being said, I am actually going to give her a couple or more. Obviously that wasn't much of a meal for this size python. So I tend to kind of like chain feed smaller meals to this girl. To be honest, I thought I had rats still. I don't have any rats left. Usually I'd be kind of feeding her a couple of small rats, but it turns out I've just got some adult mice. So that's what she's getting today. And she'll be fine with that. But yeah, I'll probably give her about 3 in total. So now we're down with Wasabi. He's right up underneath his heat here. So we'll see if he wants a meal. Obviously, it's been a bit of a stressful day for him. Definitely out of the ordinary. Being put in a little bath of water. I think he's having a bit of a snooze, but we'll just see if he... Oh, good boy. There we go. I'm glad to see that he wanted a meal. That makes me happy, just knowing that, you know, he's comfortable enough that he, you know, although he's had a little bit of a day, a little bit of an adventure, he's been put back in an old enclosure, all these sorts of things that happened to him, he's still happy enough to take a meal off the tongs and give that a bit of a go. Hopefully too, with that kind of going down, that'll loosen off that shed a little bit. I'm hoping anyway, but yeah, we'll see how he goes. Alright, so we're back at the little Juvies tanks. These guys have settled back into reasonable positions, but I think they're going to wait for tonight to really find out where they want to be kind of sitting. As you can see, we've still got this one here that's kind of on the prowl, so I might see if I can kind of coax him to potentially just work his way down over the tank here. Hopefully he smells that and kind of goes, hey, that smells okay. Haven't had one of them for a bit. Maybe I'll move down here. I'm just trying to get him away because the other one's up in that corner up there, kind of where this one's tail almost is, and I don't want it to kind of still be there, if you know what I mean. It's the hard thing about feeding 2 snakes in one box. Okay, so seeing as he's got that pretty quick, I'm actually just going to give this other one, because he looks like he's kind of onto it. Okay, they've both got a meal in their mouths. I'll give you some close-ups in a second, but I'll just quickly do the same over in this other tank. These guys are on opposite ends of the tanks, thankfully. And yeah, hopefully they're both keen for a little meal. Usually I kind of feed these guys at night time or thereabouts. With that being said, I've got a bit of a busy schedule ahead of myself today, so we're getting a bit of a daytime lucky dip. Okay, all for have mice. So here you can see that one that was kind of just cruising around on the ground on the right hand tank. He's just wrapped up that one quite nicely. And then right up in this back corner, this other one, very difficult spot to film, has a mouse in its jaws as well, but I don't think we're going to be able to really see him per se. And then over here, this little one's got this one nicely curled over in this corner. And then our other little friend that was having a bit of a rough shed is over here with one in his mouth too. So I'm going to just keep a close eye on these guys for the next hour or so while they're eating. And then from there, they should be all sweet. Tell you what, definitely happy with how these tanks ended up. I know it doesn't look much different to probably most of you, but they're just kind of straightened up. Straightened up, and the vegetation was kind of controlled a little bit and just kind of pushed back into the right sort of areas. But yeah, I'm stoked. Absolutely stoked. Well guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video today. It's been a bit of a funny one to make. I've been wanting to make a video about the greens for a little while, and kind of discovering that there's a little bit of dehydration happening here. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but at the same time it's a lesson learned. One thing that I always want to try to promote on my channel is I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes, we're all human at the end of the day. But I'm happy to recognize that, and I'm also happy to publish that and kind of go, I stuffed up. And it's okay to stuff up every now and then. You just got to learn from it and try to do better and better again. As you can see, I've got my little Mister bottle up there, ready to go for whenever I feel like they need a drink or whatever. I've got no excuses. It's right there. It's got water in it. No excuses from now on. And I'm in this room every night chilling out, so there is no reason that I can't just come over here, spend a bit more time with my animals, enjoying them, and just give them a little spritz and make sure they're hydrated. So guys, if you did like the video, make sure to drop a comment down below, hit like on the little like button-y thing down the bottom there, the thumbs up button, and if you can share it around with your friends, that'd be fantastic. If you want to go that one step further, you can join me over on Patreon as well, where you can get some early access videos, some extra content and such. And if you wanted to go a different way, you can get yourself some merchandise through Teespring. All the links are in the description below there. But until next time, that is all from me. I'm going to hang out with my greens for the rest of the afternoon now. So guys, until next time, take care, and I'll catch you then.